there, Gabe Elton with Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, joining you again for our bi-weekly gold and silver report, and sitting in for Charlie McGrath on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. Want to get right to it today. There's a lot of things that are going on. I wanted to update you guys from the last time that we had a chance to visit, which was a short 2 weeks ago, but it's amazing how many things that we talked about have been confirmed over those 2 weeks and how those issues are spreading worldwide. So let's talk about what, kind of touch on what we have been covering, and I guess a theme that I've been talking about most of this year, and that is the end of the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. And you guys obviously know about this. If you've been reading the news, you can see the rest of the world is moving away from that dollar. But something that I've been particularly thinking about since our last meeting is all of this is moving right along as planned. However, another thing that's moving right along as planned is World War III, and it's in the process of occurring right now. It's one of those other things that people say, when is it going to happen? When in fact it is happening right now, right in front of us. The dollar is coming to an end as far as it being the world's reserve currency. The rest of the world is realizing that we are bankrupt, that we're a bankrupt nation that can't even repay our own debts. And why do they need to transfer their money into U.S. dollars in order to conduct business amongst each other? But something else that's happening is this move along to World War III. And it's happening right here in front of our eyes. And the way that it's happening is the United States is doing, it's what we've been doing for the last 10, if not 20 years, actually probably 50 years, is building an empire and fighting proxy wars. And these proxy wars are very targeted. They're very evident. And the countries that they're being waged against obviously know what's going on. It's not a secret. And the reason why I say that is because there is a definite system in place and a definite plan in place for us to menace anyone who tries to move away from our hegemony over the globe, and that is the U.S. petrodollar, the world reserve currency. And the way that we're threatening and menacing these nations, and it just dawned on me that all of this is related. Ukraine, what's going on in the Ukraine is also very much related to Vietnam, believe it or not. What's going on in the Ukraine is very much related to what's going on in Japan. It's very much related to what's going on in China, very much related to what's going on in Russia. What's happening in Iran and Syria also is related to all of those countries. And basically what we're seeing is a proxy war that's being waged against the world by the United States. And those countries on which the war is being waged know what's going on. And this is, I believe, another reason why these countries, we're like a drunk teenager waving a gun in the air. And if you look at it, it's more than obvious. So exactly how is all of this related? Well, let's think about it. What's going on in Iran is really a proxy war against Russia. Russia has major bases in Iran. They're a major trading partner of Russia. And all of this that's going on versus Iran, the United States, for the last 10 to 12 years, if not longer, has been focusing on Iran, but in the meanwhile, that is destabilizing Russia because Russia does a ton of business with Iran. Russia has bases in Iran. And so for us to be in a proxy war with Iran is by extension a proxy war with Russia. Well, when Iran wasn't doing enough, and as the Russian government began to move further away from U.S. dollars, well, the next thing you know, there's a conflict in Syria. Well, what's going on in Syria? Well, Russia has large military bases in Syria. Syria is a large trading partner of Russia. Well, I guess that didn't destabilize Russia enough, and that didn't deter Vladimir Putin from looking at alternatives to the dollar. That didn't deter them making deals with China regarding natural gas and basically all trade amongst those two nations. So if Iran and Syria weren't enough, well, perhaps if we install a puppet government in the Ukraine, and perhaps if we start a proxy war against you, Russia, United States against Russia in the Ukraine, which is right on their doorstep, it would be like us. It would be like them coming to China or to Canada, rather, right there on their doorstep. So maybe if Iran wasn't enough for you, Russia, and if Syria wasn't enough, that proxy war, well then, why don't we just bring it right to your doorstep and we'll destabilize the Ukraine, put in a puppet government, and menace you from there, right there on your doorstep. And obviously that didn't do anything except embolden Russia. And since our reports, even more deals have been made. So that is one side of it. So you have the United States menacing Russia through proxy wars that are going on in Syria, Iran, and the Ukraine. Well, what about China? I don't know if you guys have been reading the news lately, but China has been having major conflicts with Vietnam and is beginning to have major conflicts with Japan. Now, if you don't think that's a proxy war, and if you don't think Barack Obama going to the war memorial in Japan that everyone knew would inflame the Chinese, if you don't think the act of going there was on purpose, then you're missing the point. And what we are starting is now a new round of proxy wars against China via Vietnam and Japan. Vietnam and China are arguing over disputed islands in the South China Sea, which is major fishing grounds for the Vietnamese. They've been disputed for some time, but it's becoming a regular occurrence for Vietnamese fishing vessels to be sunken by getting rammed by Chinese ships. And in fact, China is in the process, or they're at least seriously considering, building an artificial island in the South China Sea in order to put a military base on it. And those are disputed waters with Vietnam. There's oil there, of course. But, all of this didn't start until Russia and China began signing dollar deals, or signing non-dollar deals, I should say, and signing pacts to do business amongst each other to do away with the dollar. It was all, China has been doing this for years, signing these agreements, but it's always with these third world countries. But a China, Russia, India deal, everyone knows, is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. They got the population, they've got the manufacturing, they've got the gold. And so what do we do? Just ask Saddam Hussein what we do anytime someone decides to sell things in something other than U.S. dollars. We either invade them, sanction them, or menace them through proxy wars. And that's exactly what's going on, and it's just now starting with China. And the way that we're doing it is through Vietnam and Japan. And all of this is meant to scare China into accepting the world norm, which is the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And because that's coming to an end, people are getting frantic. But here's the thing. Do you not think that China knows why all of a sudden is happening with these disputed grounds with the Vietnamese fishermen? China, or Barack Obama visiting the war memorial in Japan, that isn't an obvious, trying to stir the pot to get some sort of conflict started there. In fact, just last week, the Japanese had a surveillance plane in the South China Sea. And the Chinese sent fighter jets, and they flew within 50 meters of that particular plane. So all of this is going on. In the meantime, we had a complete failure of the avionics system over in L.A. about 3 to 4 weeks ago. People initially said it was because of a U-2 spy plane that was flying over. However, it was later revealed that spy plane was escorted by Russian fighter jets right off of our west coast. And so if you can't see the beginnings of World War III, then you're not paying attention. And these wars are already being fought. It's kind of like the dollar is already starting to collapse. Inflation is already here. Nations are already signing agreements not to do business in the U.S. dollar. It's not as if something that might happen anymore. You know, for years, myself, probably Charlie included, many other radio hosts and journalists and researchers have been saying that this was going to happen. And people are still asking, when is it going to happen? And no one actually realizes that it is happening right in front of our eyes. It's just everyone is blind to that fact because the stock market continues to go up and gold and silver aren't skyrocketing. And isn't that a perfect scenario to be able to pull off your plan? So think about that and take advantage of gold and silver while you still have the opportunity to do so. This particular game plan, I want to kind of mention, you know, I look at this as the West losing control. I look at this as it's out of our government's hands, and we are in a situation today where the government has no choice. The government has no choice but to continue to cut interest rates. The government has no choice but to continue to print money. The government has no choice but to let this happen because there are no more tools left in the toolbox. But and I look at it as a situation that's out of control. But I do and have been following Brandon Smith from Alt Market, and I really enjoy his perspective on things. You know, a lot of times I'll write about a subject and he'll write about the same subject several days later. And I'm sure he's not reading my material. We just sort of have the same mindset. However, he looks at it from a totally different angle. And where I looked at it as if the West is losing control and this is out of our hands and you know, even the so-called controllers, are no longer in control. However, he looks at it a totally different way, and that this is all part of a master plan. This is all, and it's not out of control. It's going right as planned. And one of the things that he keeps reminding his readers of is that you have Zbigniew Brzezinski, who is a huge advisor and globalist, obviously, advisor to Barack Obama. And Zbigniew Brzezinski actually wrote about this same exact situation that's happening today, saying that the Ukraine must be controlled and that America is going to have to learn to pay the consequences of a global economic system. In order to have a global monetary system, America is going to lose its status as a perennial powerhouse on the world economic stage. He put it in his book. Well, he's the one advising Obama. And then you have Henry Kissinger, who holds a cabinet-level position with the Russian government. I never actually realized that. He is an advisor to Vladimir Putin. And Henry Kissinger has written books and made plenty of statements, and all of you know, is a one-world government guy. He wants a one-world currency as well. Well, here you have the two New World Order internationalists who have written books, made statements for the better part of 3 decades of wanting a one-world government. And both of them happen to be advisors and have the ear of the Russian president and President Obama. And so what he says is this is a transfer into a world currency that is all part of a structured plan and it's not out of control, but we are still our final result and both of our conclusions are the same. However, we have differing opinions as to how controlled this particular rollout is going to be, but there is no question that this rollout is happening. It's happening right in front of our eyes. In the next couple of segments, I want to talk about inflation. A lot of people, that's a whole nother issue that people say isn't, when is it going to happen? And folks, I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, but if you have, whenever you pay your bill, you are seeing inflation. And if you're not seeing inflation, what you're seeing are package sizes that are continually being shrunk. And, if you are buying a juice box that the volume has been reduced by 10% and it's the same price, that's 10% inflation. And that's happening all over the United States. It's happening right in front of our eyes. And unless you own gold and silver, you are going to be behind the eight ball. It is going to be a tough road ahead. And, you know, some people say, including people that I follow, Brother John F. just put out a YouTube video. He expects silver to be smashed. But my point to buyers is if you expect silver to fall, but then expect it to explode, and most of these people do, they say, you know, silver might fall to 16 from 19, but then it's going to 300. Well, if silver's going to $300 an ounce, I don't think you're going to remember whether you paid $16 or $19 for it. And that's the reason why I recommend getting what you can while you can, and that's the particular situation that we're looking at today. One other thing that I'll point out regarding inflation is a recent article, mainstream news article, and this particular article was reported on by ABC News. And they actually talked about different products where the actual size of those products were shrinking. In other words, a Minute Maid juice box, it went from 6.75 ounces to 6 ounces. But the price was still the same, $3.49. Keebler chips, they decreased in size from 14.5 ounces to 11.3 ounces. The price was the same. Pampers diapers, they used to have packages that held 100 diapers. Those diapers are down to 92. Same price. If you guys are doing any eating whatsoever, you're going to notice that prices are going through the roof, and this inflation is happening now. One thing that I would say, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to log in to the chat room, ask questions. I know Charlie's doing a Doomcast there at the moment as well. Feel free to visit our website. We have forms there, and you can fill out the forms for all of our most recent reports, all of our most recent data. Gold and silver are back in a trading pattern that's very interesting to me. I'm seeing, basically you've got support level in gold right around this $12.50 area. And with silver, it's right around $19. And last week, we broke below $12.50 in gold. We broke below $19 in silver. To be quite honest with you, I was extremely excited. I was hoping that this would be a washout so that we could move forward to higher prices. And for a couple of days, I thought that's where we were headed. But gold and silver have turned around, and now we've got gold back above $12.50. We've got silver back above 19. If these prices can hold for several days, then we should resume an uptrend in both gold and silver. I would hope for that to happen. The last thing that we like to see is gold and silver going sideways. We like to see some movement because when the price drops, people see that and take advantage. And a lot of people on the way up start to get excited and take advantage as well. But the point is, watch it very closely. If it goes below $12.50, I would certainly be a buyer. And if it starts to jump up much over $12.65 for gold, I would be all over it. Silver, I don't see, even if gold, the bottom were to fall out in gold, I really don't see a whole lot of downside in silver. Other people might disagree, but the point being, it's just like I said earlier, is if silver's at 19, you think it might go to 16, and then it's going to 300. Well, who really cares if you bought it at 16 or 19? I don't think it's going to be a big issue at the end of the day. So 1-800-928-6468. That's our main number, direct number. You can visit our website, which is www.austincoins.com. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to give us a call. We've got tons of free reports there. Visit our learning center. I think we have some of the best price charts out there. And another thing, download our app. Our app, if you've got a smartphone, you can check gold prices, you can check stock prices, you can check our blog, you could follow our tweets, you could actually even set a price alert within the app to email you if gold or silver hits a certain price. I don't think there's any other app out there that does it. It's absolutely free, and I'd recommend that everyone take advantage of that particular offer. So when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about strategy, what it is that you're trying to accomplish in gold and silver, and hopefully you guys can learn something. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. I'll see you shortly on the backside of the break.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
Hi, this is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. I will be hosting a webcast to occur on Wednesday, June 25th at 7:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This will be a question and answer session for questions we can answer legally in the United States. Tune in to www.carnivora.com to view the video that we will upload at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time entitled, Can Immune Modulation Heal the Body? Presented by Dr. Robert Rowan, M.D. Then join our free U.S. and Canadian webcast by calling 1-888-694-9666. That's 1-888-694-9666. Visit us at carnivora.com or dial 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Protect yourself and your family during these challenging times. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY today.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rense.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rense.com.
All right, Gabe Elton here, back on WideAwakeNews Radio Network, sitting in for Charlie McGrath on the one and only Rinse Radio Network, I should say, for WideAwakeNews Radio. Just to finish off about the inflation that people are asking, when is it going to be here? A couple of more things that I'll cover, and then I have a caller on the line, Meat Dog. And basically, we have ground beef. You know, I mentioned that you've got Minute Maid, Townhouse, Pampers, diapers. All of these are downsizing, but they're not changing their price. So if something, you know, like the Townhouse crackers were reduced by 14%, their actual volume, but yet the price remained the same. That's 14% inflation. And the funny thing about it is it was on ABC News, and they gave a really good report about how this was happening, but the one word that they would not mention is inflation. It's not anywhere in the printed article. They did a really cool video on it. In fact, if you guys want to look up this article, it is called Beware, New Packaging May Mean Less Product, Same Price. And it's from ABC News. Well, new packaging may mean less product, same price. That's inflation. But it's one of those, it's like he whose name can't be spoken. You know, we have ground beef is at $3.50 a pound. It's at an all-time high. Beef prices in general, not just ground beef, but beef prices overall, are at a 10-year high. If you just look at the aggregate of food being, you know, they call it a foodstuffs index, it's up 15% this year. Shrimp is at a 14-year high. So inflation is all around us. They're doing it through obfuscation by making packages smaller and charging the same price. And they're doing it out in the open by charging $3.50 for a pound of ground beef, which is an all-time high. So this is hurting the poor, and the government has no other choice but to continue to print. So, Meat Dog, I'd like to bring him on the air and see what type of question he had regarding the economy or gold and silver.
What you're saying about gold and silver is absolutely true. You know, if you can buy some, fine. You know, take your worthless dollars, and because they are going to be worthless eventually, and buy any kind of tangible goods. But the main reason I called is, first I want to say you did a great job at hosting the show. But I want to bring to your attention this one article. I got it on rents.com, and it's from the Guardian.com. It says China joins the world's largest naval exercises. It's off the coast of Hawaii. I'm only going to read one paragraph from the article. I'm going to post it on the chat room. Chinese ships headed for waters near Hawaii on Tuesday to participate in the first time in the world's largest naval exercises, a rare opportunity to build trust with the U.S. and regional rivals, including the Philippines and Japan. And I brought this up to another talk show host, and he just blew it off like it's no big deal. But, I mean, I'm trying to make sense of this. Here you have Red China getting more bellicose by the day. You have generals threatening to nuke this country, and you have, you know, these Chinese ships ramming Vietnamese fishing boats, and then you have these disputes with the Philippines and Japan over islands. So what's up with this naval exercise with these four countries, including the U.S., that are potential adversaries with Red China? Can you riddle me that, Batman? I'm trying to make sense of that.
Definitely, and I appreciate you calling, and thanks for the question. It's certainly, there's without a shadow of a doubt that there's a lot of things that don't make sense about that particular story, and I'm glad you brought it to my attention because I hadn't seen it yet. However, there are also a lot of things that don't make sense about Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama sitting on the same stage recently, and I believe it was the D-Day anniversary, and actually having an exchange of words as if the very next day Barack Obama was talking about sanctioning Russia. You know, so they'll sit there on the same stage right next to each other and have a conversation, and then the next day Barack Obama threatens the very man he was having a conversation with more sanctions. And it also points to the fact that, as I mentioned, you know, there's a whole different angle to this story, that perhaps this is all orchestrated. Perhaps this was always part of the plan. Perhaps this is what it's going to take to establish a new world monetary system. And it's happening all around us, but yet there are times when things just don't make sense. And that particular drill is one of those things. And Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin having a casual conversation the other day is another one of those things. The fact that Henry Kissinger is a advisor to Putin, while Zbigniew Brzezinski is an advisor to Obama, is another point to the story that where you start to say perhaps this was part of the plan all along. And so one thing that I know for sure is that we're not being told the truth. And whether it be the severity of these proxy wars all around the globe that the U.S. is waging, or whether it be the fact that China is sort of the model of the United Nations idea of where this world needs to be headed. So very good points, and I do appreciate you bringing them up. Unfortunately, I don't actually have a solid answer for you on that, because you're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense, not based on the backdrop that we've been seeing. A couple of more things, a couple of more data points that I've been seeing recently, and then we'll start talking about some sort of strategy of how to take advantage of this. In 2013, the U.S. government took in $2.6 trillion in revenue. So $2.6 trillion in revenue. However, government spending just on mandatory spending. So that is just the interest on the debt and Social Security and welfare payments. Okay, so just the interest on the U.S. debt, Social Security and welfare payments equaled $2.5 trillion. So I'll repeat that. They have $2.6 million in revenue, or excuse me, $2.6 trillion in revenue that they took in from taxes. But they had to spend $2.5 trillion just on mandatory spending, Social Security, food stamps, etc., and the interest on the debt. Okay, we are in a predicament where, a lot of people say that regulators could do this to solve it, or, we could elect better representatives to solve this. Well, look, you're not solving a problem like that. Not when it's mandatory that you spend $2.5 trillion every year, regardless of what bills are passed. That doesn't even include military spending. And so the government has two choices: either print to oblivion or raise taxes. And I think, they're going to raise taxes a little bit, but it's not going to put a dent in our problem. So the only choice that they have is to continue to print. And so we look at this mandatory spending and interest on the debt that's $2.5 trillion last year. And then you realize that 10,000 people per day become eligible for Social Security benefits. That's astounding. 10,000 people per day become eligible for Social Security benefits. So that mandatory spending is going to go up and be leveraged every year. And it's eventually, and very soon, probably within the next several years, is going to overtake the government revenue. And that's just mandatory spending and interest on the debt. So what we're seeing is happening right in front of us. The Federal Reserve balance sheet, everybody talks about the stocks that they've been buying and mortgage-backed securities and, our own bonds. They're the largest holder of U.S. bonds in the world. So if they realized their losses and did a mark-to-market on their assets, they've actually got $3.1 billion versus $4.3 trillion of debt. So $3.1 billion versus $4.3 trillion. So that leaves them a margin of like 0.007 of going under. So the point being, if the federal government, forget about the Federal Reserve, which obviously isn't federal, but the federal government, if they took in $2.6 trillion and they have $2.5 trillion in mandatory spending and interest on the debt, plus military spending and all the other port projects that they have, that's a company that's pretty much already bankrupt. It's walking dead. And if you look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet, that's a company that's pretty much bankrupt and it's walking dead. And we talked about zombie banks. We have a zombie government we have a zombie Federal Reserve. And the only thing that makes it last, it feels like they have some sort of magic pixie dust to sprinkle on us from time to time. But on the last segment here, I'm going to talk about some strategies, because a lot of people, and I think the majority of the people that listen to this radio show, might not have the whole story when it comes to silver and how to protect yourself moving forward. We'll talk about that after the break.
When you think of getting old, what comes to your mind? Spending the last years of your life in a nursing home? Staring out a window? Medicated to keep you docile? Not able to recognize your own kids? Suffering with some dreaded disease until you die all alone? Well, think again. One of the premier doctors in the world, Dr. James Forsythe, wrote the book Anti-Aging Cures: Life-Changing Secrets to Reverse the Effects of Aging, your key to the real fountain of youth. And Suzanne Summers, the perpetual face of eternal youth, wrote the foreword. As mentioned in the book, Royal Velvet is the most cost-effective, easiest, and complete way to reverse the effects of aging. It's true. So, do you want glowing skin, less wrinkles, thicker hair, less gray hair, your hormones balanced, improved memory, a toned physique, greater energy, less pain and stiffness, as well as benefits too numerous to name? Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com. Click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner, and within a couple of days, you can be on the path to youthful living. RoyalVelvetNow.com. Your life will never be the same.
Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question for my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe, Elton, and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning. Oh, won't you tell me again? Oh, can you feel it?
Gabe Elton here. Sorry about that. I had a little microphone problem here on Wide Awake News Radio on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. So I promised you when we got back we would talk about strategy, because it's one thing that I think it's sorely missed out there. Very few people have a real good understanding of what to buy out there in the precious metals arena. And that's where Austin Rare Coins tries to make up, to get clients and show you guys the right way and the right process to get you where you want to be. I don't think you're going to find it at many other coin companies, if any, in the entire United States. And you know, we could look at that selfishly, or not even really selfishly. We could say that we're only looking out for you as the customer. And that's not entirely true. What we hope to do is to make recommendations at the right times for the right products so that you can increase your holdings in the future without having to invest more money. And, to me, I look at this, there's really three different buyers out there that we talk to on a daily basis. You've got the investors. Investors normally come in. They can sometimes see areas that you're not going to see if you're purely a stacker. You have preppers who are buying and looking for, preparing for a complete catastrophe where they're going to need their gold and silver to spend. And then you have stackers who want the least product over spot. In other words, the least price product compared to the spot price, which is always going to be rounds and bars. That's all they care about is generally, and I'm generalizing things, but generally all they care about is being able to buy the most amount of silver for the least amount of money. Now, that's extremely short-sighted. And the reason why I say that is because we all have the same interest. We all want as much silver as we could possibly afford before this crisis hits. If that's all that you're concerned about, well, obviously you're only going to want the things that are the least expensive and the closest to the spot price. But what you're going to miss out on with that sort of thinking is you're going to miss out on the 2011 Canadian silver Timberwolf. The coin that originally it was about 70 cents per coin more than a normal Canadian maple leaf. And so if you're a stacker, you're calling me and asking me, how much over spot are you for your rounds? How much over spot are you selling your silver bars for? And I'm telling you, $1.29 over spot. And you're saying, well, that's a little bit high, but you guys are great, and I'll be glad. All that I am is a stacker. I want to buy the most amount of silver, and I want bars, and I want rounds. Well, guess what? Bars and rounds aren't private. You have to give your Social Security number when you're selling more than 1,000 ounces in a 12-month period of bars and rounds. That's not true with a lot of different coins. You see, and you might not have known that before you started. You might not have known that last year, a few years ago in New York City, there were 10 10-ounce gold bars sold with certificates from Credit Suisse, and they were full of tungsten. You might not know that in a collapse situation that people might not trust rounds or bars that have been made by a private corporation and that aren't backed up by the full, I don't want to say faith and credit because the government doesn't have we don't have much faith in the government and the government doesn't have much credit, but it's backed up by the legal, lawful enforcement of counterfeiting. If someone were to counterfeit a major country's coins, they have the Secret Service and the FBI coming after you because you've committed a major crime. Whereas the person that counterfeited the Credit Suisse bars that were filled with tungsten and sold in New York has probably never been caught. And it's up to Credit Suisse to try to recoup that loss and rebuild their name and also find out exactly how this happened. But, they don't have the wherewithal and they don't have the resources to track those criminals down, whereas a major government would. So in the event of a collapse, people are probably going to be much more willing to accept a coin that was minted by a government over a silver round or a silver bar that was minted privately. So those guys that call me and say, well, how much over are you over spot for silver rounds? Or how much over are you over spot for silver bars? Let me tell you what they're never going to experience. And I touched on it, is the Canadian silver Timberwolf that came out in 2011. Well, it was 70 cents more per ounce for that coin than a silver eagle. So if all you're concerned about is what am I paying over spot, you're not buying a Canadian silver Timberwolf in 2011. If all that you're concerned about is how much over are you over spot, you're not going to buy a Hawaiian 5-ounce America the Beautiful Volcano that was released in 2012. If all that you're worried about is how much over spot are you for bars and rounds, you're not going to buy a 1995 W Silver Eagle. And let me tell you what I mean by that. The Canadian silver Timberwolf, if you had 500 of those, you could send them to me today, and I would exchange them for 1,000 Canadian maple leafs. So let me repeat that. If you have 500 Canadian silver Timberwolves, you can send them to me today for 1,000 Canadian maple leafs. How's that for stacking? How is that for stacking? And how is that for how much over spot are you? You see, because as soon as I tell you, well, these are about 70 cents more than a silver eagle, you're going to say, nope, I want silver bars, I want silver rounds. Okay. Well, the stacker isn't so much of a stacker compared to his next door neighbor who saw the benefits of a limited mintage coin and was able to take 500 ounces and turn it into 1,000. That's never going to happen if all you're concerned about is how much over spot are you. The Canadian, or moving on to the Hawaiian volcano from 2012. You know, this was just minted a few years ago. And it was part of the America the Beautiful program, which is a 5-ounce silver program that the U.S. Mint is producing. These coins are coming in with extremely low mintage figures. The Hawaiian volcano, they only minted, I believe it was 20,000 coins. Well, I was able to take a friend and client who had purchased 230 ounces worth of Hawaiian volcanoes. He was able to trade it for more than 600 ounces of American Eagles. Now, I think that ratio has come down since that trade, but it's still, I believe, very close to 2-to-1. So if you had 100 ounces of Hawaiian volcano from 2012, America the Beautiful, you could take your 100 ounces and turn it into 200 ounces. And that's what I mean is when you have this narrow view, for preppers, they don't really care about the price. They're just buying when they can because they know what's down the road. For a stacker, they wait for these smackdowns in the price and take advantage, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the way that they take advantage is by buying up all the rounds and bars that they can, as close to the spot prices they can, without having any idea that if you look around and follow our advice, although obviously it's not a guaranteed home run, but it works out that way sometimes. And when it does, as I mentioned earlier, what we try to do is put you into coins like this so that we can call you back and say, send me those 500 coins. I want to send you 1,000. Guess what? It's future business for our company. It's future business for our associates, and it's more silver for you. And that is what we're after. And that is what we strive to do with every type of recommendation that we might make in the silver market. A couple of coins that we're looking at this year is the 2014 Canadian Silver Peregrine. They only minted 1 million coin. It's part of a new Birds of Prey series. Another one that we have really high hopes for, we just sent out an alert via email on, is the 2014 Australian Crocodile. It's the first time the Aussies have ever done anything like this. They're putting their coins in mint roll tubes. It is saltwater crocodile on the coin. It's a fantastic and beautiful coin. If you have never seen Australian silver coins, take a look at them. They're probably the most beautiful silver coins in the world. They do an astounding job over there. And the crocodile is a very nice looking coin that has a mintage of just 1 million pieces. It's the first time that the Australian Mint has done anything like this. I believe they're doing it sort of to compete with the Canadian Birds of Prey and Wildlife series. And these coins come in mint roll tubes. If you can't afford a whole case, sealed case, this is the only mint roll tube that I know about that comes directly from the mint with a hologram around the seal. So there's no way for dealers, in which I happen to know, and another dirty secret that I've never really shared with you guys is some of those companies out there that sell coins for less than us, the reason why they're less is because they've all been sent off to be graded. And those are the rejects that have been put back into mint roll tubes. And so they didn't come from they didn't grade out well from PCGS and NGC. Like they didn't obtain a 69 or 70 grade. So they're sent back, put into tubes, and sold at lower prices. However, this can't necessarily be done with these Australian crocodiles because the tubes come with a hologram seal. And if the tube has been opened, it is evident that it's been tampered with. And in any case, we think that this particular coin could be the next volcano, could be the next Timberwolf. And another thing, it's not just the Timberwolf and it's not just the volcano. Those are just the success stories of the groups, if you will. There are lots. If you look at the wildlife series, whether it be the bison, antelope, or moose, they're worth $6-7 over spot today. You're never going to get that with a round or a bar. Give us a call. We'd like to give you some pointers. All of our information is free. 1-800-928-6468.
Next one could be me. Do you see the soldiers that are out today? They brush the dust with bulletproof vests away. It's ironic. At times like this you pray, but a bomb blew the mosque up yesterday. There's bombs on the buses, bikes, roads, inside your market, your shops, your clothes. My dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside not to let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand wrote a quote inside: when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news never played. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry, like what did he say?
You have been chosen, yes, you, to discover for yourself what thousands have already experienced, the most life-changing health product in the world. It's called Royal Velvet, and there's nothing else like it. Royal Velvet users testify to receiving hundreds of benefits, from reversing the effects of aging to mental clarity, as well as noticeably improved sleep, energy, libido, overall health, and so much more, including saving lots of money. This is the real deal, that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you will regret if you don't act upon it. Honestly, there is an extremely limited amount of raw material, making it available only to a select few, a very select few. So find out why you have been chosen. Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com, click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner for an incredible surprise. Oh yeah, if you place your order before we run out of them, you will receive the eye-popping but simple-to-read book that tells you how to live in divine health, and it's free. RoyalVelvetNow.com.
In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're listening to the Rense Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rense.com.